This electronic file is already in your, the presentation file originally. Some of the part has been slightly changed. Did you find it? You downloaded in July already. Background, capital, and funds, and the intellectual property. Some of the part has been already explained. So I would like to repeat the fundamental part, background, and so on. So basically, let's see, how many students do we have now? Raise your hand who would like to start up your own company. Rather large number, okay, roughly half. Entrepreneurship for engineers. If you start to, I have a good idea or invention, okay? Initially, you need to file the patent. So you need to read how to write the patent and apply the patent application. So I know its client and market. This is also important. Personal connection without finding initially particular client or market, your business will not start up, okay? And sometimes a client will provide you some of the additional research money and start up a new company, okay? So entrepreneurship for engineers. So I will ask for each individual. So raise your hand, okay? What's your tolerance for risk? Are you high? Nobody? This is some of the keywords to who will be really suitable for startup entrepreneurship. If you don't have a tolerance for risk, you should not start up any small business, okay? And you had better get the big company. It's just one of the gears. Start up a company, risk taker is actually important. So yes, I would like to, challenge this. So challenging, okay? Do you prefer a steady paycheck or potentially unlimited earning in exchange of risk? Okay. So in that case, of course, the entrepreneur, steady paycheck, it's impossible. But in a couple of years later, if the business is succeeded, even the company's president, who is just around the 40s, $500,000 is rather easily obtained, okay? So of course, like average of the big company CEO, $12 million, you need to expand the company size a little larger. My company has only 3 employees, okay? The president is $500,000 pay, and the director who just graduated PhD and a 2-year, 3-year period. How much would you like to get? Okay.
For starting salary?
Yeah.
It's $100,000. A little bit low, but.
Yeah, my director is receiving $200,000. Good. Okay.
So hire me.
Yeah. That's why the small business is interested in. So a top student in the Penn State usually get the small business applications. Big companies' salary is so low, okay? Even the IBM or others, just around $80,000 per year. That's ridiculously low, okay? We can easily collect $100,000 to $200,000 for the annual income, okay? That's why we are working. So, however, this is exchange for risk. So you need to be a risk taker. Otherwise, so initially, I usually explain the student, if you would like to start the companies, you need to persuade your wife. Okay. Sometimes during the starting point, wife needs to really work and collecting a regular house income, okay? Otherwise, the husband cannot really work easily, okay?
Part-time entrepreneur is impossible.
Huh?
Part-time entrepreneur is impossible.
So our wife is free, okay? If you have a business idea already, are you truly passionate about it, okay? So as long as you presented something, actually you need to be passionate. If you start the companies, can you really apply this topic for the real money, okay? So this is the issue. Are you okay with taking on a multitude of the different responsibility each day? So some guys, I would like to work only this, okay? In that case, it's ridiculous. A small business, as the company, the operator, like a CEO, we need to work multiple tasks at the same time, okay? So do you have a support of other stakeholders in your life? Basically, this is important to collect the money, okay? Stakeholders, this means giving the money, okay? So the stakeholder, of course, stock and so on, you can sell it to the stakeholder. So we need to have some trust. Otherwise, initial 5 years, we cannot pay back anything, okay? Sometimes bankruptcy may happen. So a stakeholder will lose money. So these are the other stakeholders in your life, really good friends, is essential, okay? And are you a good decision maker? Quick is also important. Otherwise, if you delay and delay during that period, the company will bankrupt, okay? Yes?
This is a kind of a tangent question, but I'm wondering, if a company goes bankrupt, does the person whose credit is affected, is it the CEO? And if that's the case, can the CEO just change and then give another CEO the responsibility of bankruptcy? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So if you'd like to keep the company, yeah, you can replace the CEO that the Nissan is trying to do now. But as a CEO's viewpoint, you will be probably CEO, okay? If the bankruptcy may happen, so crush this, okay? And restart using a different name.
Yeah.
So if you use the same name, you will lose the eligibility for apply for the small business innovation research, okay? Initially 3 years, maximum 5 years. Some of the allowance the tax is free, okay? In Pennsylvania, initial starting 5 years. If this revenue is not increasing so easily, so initially close this company and restart. So another 5-year allowance happened, okay? But of course, you can apply for the small business and receiving this. But some guys are kind of ethically incorrect, but some guy try to get the research fund, like $150,000, and doing nothing, and paying himself, and another application. So typically, yes, our government is watching this situation. So minimum or maximum 3 times, it's possible to be awarded. Later, this company will put into the blacklist. Therefore, no more funding comes, okay?
Is it possible to have a small business and then get the subsidy for 5 years, and after 5 years, close it and then open a new company?
Yes, if you start a new company, yes, that means that you will receive another 3 times some allowance.
It's possible for 3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So however, your name is still remaining as the CEO. Even the company name is different. If you try third time, probably government all blacklist, okay? Blackest list. Therefore, automatically rejected, okay? So, yeah, typically I know the 10-year. So longer than that, I have never seen any this kind of like a fake company, okay, or a paper company. So money and passion and leadership. These three are very important to start up entrepreneur. Any questions on this? If you satisfy all these questions, yes, okay, you may start your company, okay? Yes?
So I heard in the U.S. there's the visa issue. Visa. Like international students staying there, but some exception for entrepreneurs who will start the company.
You'd like to start up a company in the U.S.?
Yes, one
okay.
of the example I heard that there's a special visa. No, there's no.
If you start up a companies, you need to get initially permanent residency. Okay, so staying in even the universities, permanent residency is rather easy to obtain. I don't know the Trump situation and also current. Anyhow, most of my, including a Chinese student, working with me, spending 3-4 years to get the PhD. During that period, permanent residency is all satisfied. Okay. Therefore, permanent residency is initially essential to start up a company. Okay. And even the startup, to receive a small business, CEO should be the U.S. citizen. It's not mandatory, but the U.S. citizen is requested to satisfy all the company stock. Do you remember? I will mention again. The 51% must be U.S. share, 49% outside. Therefore, at least your friends or your some relative or others must share the 51% of your capital. U.S. citizen needs to be there. Permanent residency is out of the country, okay? So, are you looking for the manpuku? I saw this morning, okay? The NHK drama manpuku, 8 to 8:15 in the early morning. So actually, this is Momofuku Ando, who is an inventor and the founder of Nissin Cup Noodle, okay? So considering this and starting up their own business, so this is one of the entrepreneurs, typical one, okay? And of course, initially studied from entrepreneur is Sony, but the Sony is now huge, so you cannot really compare. So manpuku, so the founder of the Nissin food. This is the typical. He is really passionate for making the some noodle or food, okay? The leadership, the president himself doesn't have a good leadership, okay? Therefore, other supporter is putting this. And the money, he's not really, rich yet, okay? So, I will skip this, my textbook, if you are interested in. So entrepreneurship, idea, market research, capital, startup, and the company growth. So accordingly, I'm explaining in the different chapter of my company. So some of the most special part for the engineers, intellectual properties, chapter 9, and B2B, global partnering. This is chapter 13. You can see it. So assemble factors of production. These three words are most important initial starting point: land, labor, and capital. Okay, so land is natural resources. So where would you like to put? In my company situation, there are multiple places to start up my company. So State College is here, airport, State College Airport is here, and Lock Haven, next township, is here. So about a 40 minutes drive. So Lock Haven is really rural. Therefore, the land or the facility is quite cheap. Therefore, initially, I started up by taking Taiwan money. 2004, Taiwan is really booming up. Therefore, there are lots of angel money there. So we decided to take initially Taiwan money to start up my company. Okay, so this president is he, and I became a vice president and started this company. Okay, so he has chosen the Lock Haven, cheap, good, and also labor may be cheap. Okay, it's yes. However, we need some technicians, our engineers, and hopefully one may be a PhD, the other is BS is required. In that case, State College, Penn State University, this is a good resources. So we could hire the undergrad student. Of course, US student can work sometimes in the company, and the 4 hours in company, 4 hours taking some classes that's allowed. Therefore, we hired multiple, the undergrad student. And graduate student is actually the real employee, okay? From my laboratory, we usually select some of the entrepreneurs and trained for 3 years in my company, and they will apply for the different, the jobs later, okay? Or they may start their own company. So the State College is better. So they close to the State College Airport and welcome the client, and I must be commute. Therefore, I'm regularly working in the Penn State University. So spending every day like a 40 minutes drive, it's really, the heavy task for me. Therefore, we decided to take, the place here, State College. Labor, people to do work, of course, the offshore factories are acceptable. Therefore, Taiwan, the client, actually angel money, that company is making some of the product in Taiwan. So we set up some of the lines in that company. So I commuted with the Taiwan Kaohsiung and the State College almost every month, and started up some of the factory there. That's the situation. And the capital, human-made resources and the physical capital and fund are 3 types. So human capital, acquired knowledge and skills. Of course, you had better choose near from the Penn State. Of course, the high-skilled engineer can be obtained. So our current one of our company's employee is originally Penn State, but he retired. So a technician usually retire around 50 years old. They're still young, okay? Therefore, we can, they hire. There's already technicians, highly skilled, and receiving. In that case, interesting point is we don't need to provide any retirement pension. He is already receiving a retirement pension, okay? Therefore, if we pay $200,000, this is quite large. Of course, probably he needs to pay the tax more than his pension, okay? So anyhow, Penn State graduate or Penn State employee, we can easily recruit this manpower. Therefore, selection is very important in the State College. Physical capital, objects used to create goods or supply services That's the physical capital. So close to the Penn State research facilities. So my company doesn't have any particular experimental setup. They usually rent my university's facilities equipment. So by paying a couple of $100 per hour, this kind of usage payment. And we set up a so-called university and company, MEC companies, research service agreement. And they are rather freely using the Penn State research facility. So the company doesn't need to really accumulate or pay all the equipment by ourselves. That's another reason. So Penn State close, so university close, is very easy to access these. And the funds, cash from the research contract, incubator support fund, and inventors. So initially, I would like to introduce the Penn State entrepreneur course. Okay, so I'm pushing probably Anegawa sensei. So even a Keio University may start this kind of similar one. So we call it the tech accelerator at the State College. Penn State has the 17 campuses. So more than 5 or 6 places, we started this tech accelerator, the programs. So this is a 10-week accelerator for entrepreneurs. In addition to the student, similar to this, some of the already started person or around the 40s, big companies, unemployment or firing is popular in the United States. Okay? Therefore, once fired, they need to start up their own companies. Okay? In that case, these guys are usually taking this. Half are already experienced or new starting beginners, and half are the students. That's the typical way. So total number is not large. Typically, 10 to 20 people are usually coming. Okay? So Ben Franklin Technology Partners Tech Accelerator. Ben Franklin Foundation is a Pennsylvania's state foundation. So Ben Franklin, are you familiar with Ben Franklin? He's famous as a child kite, but also he is a president of the Pennsylvania state, first president of the Pennsylvania. Okay, after the independence, he became a first president of Pennsylvania. So politician and also the inventor. So these guys' name was taken, and Penn State usually provide the $300,000 who would like to start up some companies. Okay, so this is not the award, but the loan. Okay, so usually when the student starts the companies, you wrote already the research proposal about the $150,000. Okay, this is spent for the wages. This money, 150, cannot be spent for any equipment or facilities. Okay, so $300,000 from the Ben Franklin should not be spent for the wages, but this can be spent for the equipment, facilities, and renting fee, and so on. Okay? Therefore, both, if you add $450,000, and usually $50,000 range can be obtained from the Penn State. If you pass this, here, even this course, 10-week course, the top grand prize is $10,000. Okay, so $10,000, or MBA course. Usually, the top person will receive $30,000. Okay, at least you need to apply presentation this presentation this way. You can collect that the close to the $100,000 rather easily. This is like an investor. This money from a Penn State need not to be paid back. Okay, these are fully income. Okay, therefore the 150 are this small business innovation research. As I told you initially, this is award. You don't need to pay back at all. So this $300,000 from the Ben Franklin Foundation. If you make a loan, this must be paid back after 5 years, okay? And typically 5-year period. So if you cannot really return back a $300,000 range in 5 years, your company will be taken by the Penn State, okay? So the a kind of risk for leasing this amount. But so anyhow,
including the patent? Including the patent?
Patent?
If you have a
yes.
With patents,
yeah.
Take your patent.
So company is taken. So because they are investing like $300,000, if you do not pay $1 million, you cannot really compensate. Okay. So basically this largest, the stockholder will take this company.
So if it's taken, what's to stop you from building a new company with your patent? If the owner still has their patent, what's stopping them from just giving the company away and making a new company and doing the same thing?
Usually if owner usually we pay the company money for applying for the patent.
Oh, okay. So if I don't
even you are the inventor doesn't really own the patent. Okay. If you before starting a company and if you get the patent first by paying by yourself, that patent belongs to you. However, after starting and using this small business innovation research and getting a patent, usually patent fee is taken from the company as a company employee. Even the Penn State, we need to sign for the agreement, the employment agreement. Employment agreement usually provide the intellectual property belongs to the Penn State University, okay? So I'm an inventor and a professor. However, as a professor, if I invent and taking this course, the Penn State will pay for the necessary, the money. So the patent belongs to Penn State, okay? So what I can get is if the Penn State will receive some royalty back, typically 5% range of the sales, okay? Royalty 5% back.
Forever?
Huh?
Forever? In perpetuity?
Patent expires, so it's not forever. So just a leasing period, okay? So if the return, the royalty is $1 million, of course, $500,000 is taken by the university. Remaining $500,000 will distribute for the inventors. So professor and my student will receive, even a student will already get some of the company's job. He will be paid, okay? So according to the separation. So I'm usually keeping a patent right 51%, 49% for the student who really invented, okay? But of course, this guy is an employee of mine, okay? Therefore, I usually, that's the, if you are the graduate student, Penn State and the graduate student will exchange the employment agreement. Problem is the undergrad student. If I teach the undergrad doesn't make any agreement with the Penn State as an employment. Therefore, the undergrad student sometimes take their own pattern, even working with me, okay? But we cannot complain about it. It's not illegal, okay? But the graduate student, they automatically signed because I'm paying the salaries, okay? So 51% me. Therefore, I can sell or any management the intellectual properties that belongs to me, okay? Anyhow, this usually this fall semesters, September and December, typically the 10-week program and taken here, and the once a week. This is, I think, a Thursday program somewhere, the 2 to 4 p.m. So after finishing, they learn, write a proposal, and getting a top. This course provide $10,000. And if you have got some confidence, you can apply for also the Penn State MBA course for this. And you receive $30,000. And in parallel, you need to apply for the Navy or Army or some particular sponsors for the small business innovation research. That means $150,000 initially for the 6 months period, okay? And also you can apply for the Ben Franklin original to make a loan for $300,000. Clear? So $500,000 usually automatically comes to your hand. Therefore, you can employ 1 or 2. Of course, $500,000 comes, and if you pay for the CEO salary, $500,000, nothing will be done, okay? Any questions on this program? So program, this is a little more detailed, summary result. Already this program is passing 6 years. 16 classes has been made during the 6 years. So more than 2 classes, springs and fall semester, at least 1 and 1. And more than that is provided, sometimes summer course, okay? And 1919 graduated. Teams means, as I mentioned, in this class, initially 3 persons, okay, teaming. So these guys will make a practical company in the near future. So a similar program is made in the MBA undergraduate courses. Therefore, after graduating the universities, some guys start. Usually, typically 2 new companies comes out per semester, okay? So that means they each will receive $30,000 from the course, okay? So they have raised $35 million in starting up foundation, and the others are just numbers, how much we spend and how much you will receive. Any questions on this program? So if the Japanese university start also with the award, okay? Without having award, you are rather lazy, okay? If you will receive $1 million, okay, you will skip other courses and just concentrate. That's really true. Don't you think so? Even $1 million, probably, how much do you pay? So just $100,000, or this is too small, but the $10,000, do you work? Yeah. Okay? Spending 1 month and receiving $10,000, it's good income, okay? And concentrate to make a beautiful presentation, okay? So motivation is important to write a good proposal. So capital fund, startup, I don't want to repeat so much, but profit and loss curve, usually, the second year, a large deficit comes. So even at Tsukuba, yes, last week, not the last week, this week, on Thursday, I gave a similar presentation in Tsukuba area. Tsukuba Research Center is making a lot of small business. But interestingly, more than 90% crashed already. Okay? So the government is interested in to start up a 500 small business during a 10-year period in the Tsukuba area. So they reached close to the 300 companies, but they are not interested in to make a statistics how many are crashed. Okay? But more than 90%. Remaining is only this small number. Okay? So how we need to really solve this situation. Initial capital collection, I collected money from the initially, this is from Taiwan money first. But 2 years later, we switched. We sold the stocks to the European company. So Taiwan crashed just 1 year, 2 years later dramatically. Okay? To the contrary, euro dollar expanding dramatically. So just a 2 year, 3 year period, we changed from Taiwan money to the European dollar. Okay? So we sold the sum of the stock to the Europe and collecting additional money and surviving. Okay? After that, we are increasing revenue dramatically. But sometimes we need a so-called death valley. Okay? How much should we have? So recommendation for the manufacturing is $100,000 to $300,000. This is like a capital. Okay? Device hardware or computer software. Computer software, you may not need so large. Only $30,000 may be fine. But you need to calculate initial a couple months some wages. Otherwise, you cannot hire any person. Okay? Employee number, your salary, $1 million. Your company will automatically bankrupt. Okay? The one engineer, $100,000. This is the typical average in the United States. Okay? And one office manager, $50,000, like more than secretary, but accounting some person. Real accounting, we need to hire the CPA, accountant, and so on. So you need to really calculate all the necessary part. And the loan and stock, I will skip this. Bank or the stock. Stock is from the investor. Bank loan is rather easy as long as we set the sum of the main bank. We can borrow it, but the loan usually increases some problem. As I told you, the Benjamin Franklin Foundation is a loan. So if you do not pay back less than 5 years, you will lose the company. Okay? The Pennsylvania Foundation will take over this company. So loan has such kind of risk. To the contrary, stock, you don't need to pay back. Okay? However, usually stockholder is expecting some dividend in the near future. So if you will not pay any dividend, stock will be already sold to the other guys or some problem start. Okay? But usually stock comes by begging initially some friends, so they can wait a couple of years at least. Okay? Recommendation, usually 50-50% mixture between these. So as I told you, if you borrowed $300,000 for the loans, and the small business innovation research $150,000, and if you collect $300,000 capital from your friend, like your stockholder, okay? So let's say I collected personally the $700,000 to start up a company, okay? Zero money from my personal, okay? Of course, all are loans or the award, okay? If we need to pay some of the money from my pocket money, in the United States, nobody will start a company, okay? During the development period, entrepreneurial technologies collaborate, and these collaborative person, Taiwan, of course, initially I used that company like offshore manufacturing. So when the Taiwan is really good in the economic situation, we borrowed rather easily to the money, okay? And this stock capital can be sold to the Europe and pay back to the Taiwan and move to the other Europe, okay? But the Europe is now declining. Therefore, practically all US, our company bought out 100% all stocks in our companies. So finally, less than 10 years, this becomes all 100% US company now, okay? So recommendation, the partner company should also be a small business firm. Yes, this part is another important, 15 more minutes. Another important issue in the United States. In Japan, I don't know, you need to check it. A small business has a special, the privilege to get the small business innovation research from the government. Government means National Scientific Foundation or the Navy, Army, Air Force. There are so many small business, the opportunities. Small business definition is here. With 500 or fewer, and annual revenue is less than $5 million, okay? Of course, my company, as I told you, only 3 guys are now working, but rather close to this. Therefore, in that case, if you are the CEO, how would you like to work? If the revenue is increasing, okay, that's good. However, more than $5 million, you will lose a small business innovation research privilege, okay?
So you split the company.
Split the company, that's correct answer, okay? So in my company, I split already 3 companies, okay? So each company should be maintained. Of course, 500 is quite a large number, okay? In my company, one employee needs to collect minimum 1 million revenues. Currently, close to 2 million, okay, per each, okay? So less than 1 million, usually we will cut this guy, okay? So useless, okay? Median. So if we reach to the 5 million, we had better split the companies, okay? So that's the background. MMEC Foundation, initially Taiwan money. Euro is here, okay? Selling stock to euro. So from a euro viewpoint, when we sold the company stock to the Europe could purchase 50% more than the US good. The euro was really strong at that time. US was a sort of colony. So president of the Denmark companies came in. And the CEO salary or our vice president or other guy's salary is looking, wow, so cheap, half of the Europe, okay? Therefore, they can easily the lease or purchase our stocks, okay? Weakness of the US currency, in that case, rather easy to start up the other, the small business. So if the US is really strong, it's not good, okay? When the US currency is weaker, so Japan was really strong previously. In that case, we can easily borrow the money from Japan, but not anymore, okay? But the good timing of finding the money from the international investors. So you can easily find out some of the different countries' money. So this is my company situation. Foundation, initially, this is just the euro. Taiwan was really strong, Taiwan dollar, okay? And selling stock to a euro company, in that case, euro is gradually increasing here. And now dropped dramatically. Therefore, we purchase all, buying back stocks to the United States. So according to this currency exchange rate, we usually, change the capital according to this, okay? This is like a trading market. But the company executive needs to really be acquainted with the stock market. Otherwise, if we lose the timing, we will have a bankrupt, okay? So, as I told you, US, Japan, or euro, US dollar, these are really moving. So at least the international stock share should be less than 49%. And how you can find some of the venture capitalists, I will skip this. And the bank. And finally, research fund. If you are interested in to apply for the small business, and of course, if your company needs to be a US small business, in that case, you can apply for the small business innovation research. You can apply it. So you are not a US citizen. So how you can start up? What's your strategy?
My strategy is
finding out the US citizens' friends first, okay? Trust is important. If he or she will really move out, okay? The good issue is marry with the US guy, okay? Okay, US guy here. One example, married and getting a permanent residency in the US and put him as a president nominally, okay?
But then when the relationship doesn't work out, the company will go down.
So of course, you can apply for this, okay? And the stock must be, again, 51% from the US. And the Japanese, your money or your different countries are 49%, okay? And setting up all capital and setting up in California, that's less cost for the international trip, okay?
As you mentioned, it's not good enough if I get a permanent residence to open a company.
At least a permanent residence. Otherwise, if you have visa.
No, permanent residence. But do I have to be the U.S. citizen in order to have?
You can start with a permanent residence. Yes. At least a permanent residence, you can get that loan. Visa person, nobody will make any loans for you, okay? So a permanent residence is important. And at least if you are the permanent resident, you can apply for the small business in the minimum range. Navy, Army, sometimes they request a high secure confidential company. So our company, MMEC, this is just international trading. And MMEC Defense is a 100 confidential company. So no website is disclosed and controlled by the armies. In that case, all employees must be strictly all the US citizen, okay? But practically, when we started, I'm a US citizen, therefore I'm involved in this. But all MMEC, the president was a Spanish permanent resident, okay, at that time. And the others are the Korean, okay? So so how they can work in the MMEC defense. So MMEC defense, usually I collected a retired army general, nominally, just putting some of the name. They have never appeared in the company, okay? So all the MMEC international persons are working for the MMEC defense. How can you do it, okay? MMEC defense should be all employee must be US citizen. However, MMEC defense can make a service agreement with MMEC. So MMEC person, through the service agreement, even an international person can work for the MMEC defense.
Have an agreement to cooperate.
Yes, service agreement. Yeah? Can you understand? So these are the tricks which I learned. So any international can be employed in my company to work for the high confidential. But of course, I encourage to get the nationality first, and even the nationality, confidential, secret, and top secret. These confidential, I mean the clearance, a security clearance must be maintained. So the minimum secret is required for working directly for the armies. That's the situation. So even if you have some intentions for the futures, even a permanent resident or others, this is possible. Yeah. So if you don't want to work in the PhD process in the United States, you can marry with an American guy, okay? That's it. Simple. Less than 3 months, you will be a permanent resident. And once you have got the eligibility, you can apply for this small business administration and finding a lot. I will skip. And the proposal writing, you have partially trained, so that's it. I had better stop it. And if you have any questions, I will accept your question. Yes?
Yeah, first one, is it advantageous to start up small business in the United States? Looks like the Silicon Valley state. Is it geophysical? In geophysical?
Yeah?
Is it advantageous in the US?
Mm-hmm. So you have already learned why the small business is really popular. What is the key word? Money, okay? Yeah. Salary is more than double in the small business. That's why. Why do we need to really work for the IBM or Lockheed Martin or Boeing, okay? Big companies, salary is already limited, okay? Therefore, if we spin out, so one of my the friends in Boeing who is making a space shuttle or others, but NASA already closed the space shuttle program. Therefore, Boeing succeeded to take this launching as a private company. So some of the key component, the one individual. So he was a manager and taking all 3 employees and spin out. All technology are moving out. Of course, he himself is moving out. The company will not really make any the negotiation. But all 3, one group are moving out. This is equivalent to the company Boeing. Boeing and this company can really negotiate. Therefore, his salary became 3 times higher. Okay, you can understand. Selling the product to the Boeing or working in a small division, salary is 3 times different. Okay, therefore, many guys in the large companies, but not individual. You need to make a good teaming. And all team must be removed at the same time. So that's the big impact is provided to the Boeing. So negotiable about the product, price, and so on.
So chief technology officer team
Yes, so he must be really responsible to take care of all. So without becoming a good CEO, and if company is crashing, similar situation, risk, okay, happen. But in his case, yeah, he negotiated with Boeing, okay? So all team must be one team and spin out. So you will get double the income, okay? That's American style. That's why we can make a small business. Any questions? Yes? Sorry, I don't have a good. Team building? One team? Personal relations. Of course, Japanese are more polite, like general manager usually bowing, or sometimes Korean usually take this hand, okay? American is rough. However, boss is boss. Easily fire and hire is made, okay? Therefore, how can I say, without working so much, these guys must be prepared for the firing, okay? So these are the difference. So even the small companies, of course, salary is double. Double means you need to work the double. Of course. I recruited one guy from Hitachi Central Research Lab previously, okay? He was just complaining about research. His program is rather shrinking or others in the big company, okay? But he would like to work on it. Therefore, I recruited him to the Singapore. So our salary was negotiated double. So he is really lucky, like the early 50 years old, okay? So he can work more than 10 years in Singapore, therefore, and the salary is doubled. So all family are really. But he was thinking this is like a retirement, okay? So retirement from Hitachi, and his status itself may be sold to the Singapore, like integral, okay? But it's not. Singapore usually take a similar US situation. The differential, that means only derivative, the slope is essential. Therefore, he was hired for 3 years, but the 3-year period, no product has been made in his group. Therefore, he was fired. Group leader, of course, has a strong responsibility according to this big. Of course, in Japan, mostly like a group leader, like a general manager, this is because this guy's problem was, okay? And cutting a tail and surviving on the top, okay? So it should not happen in the US. All responsibility is the boss, okay? So boss must be really moved out, except Mr. Trump, okay? Any other question? Yes?
So when you explained about the difference between USA and Japan culturally, and then when you explained that CEO gets a lot of salary,
yes.
In that case, many of the
yes.
group...
Large salary means large responsibility.
Large responsibility,
yeah.
yes. And then many of the I guess, employee working under him may leave because of like an unhappy situation, and then the company will not continue. And then I think in Japan, a lot of people like a long longevity of a corporation, like 100 years ago, or that's something that Japanese people like 100 years of age. But in US, like Amazon, they're explaining, okay, our business model might not continue, and it might not, it might disappear, you know, in couple decades. So the mentality, I think, of the U.S. and the Japan, they are different. Japanese are more toward having history, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They have a pride. They like the longevity of the history, but in the U.S., it's the
I think last year during this period, I learned some university researcher mentioned current situation like Joshua, assistant, the employed by the National Institute or universities limited period, like 5 years. Therefore, it's not stable, okay? So I was shocked. This is a Japanese thinking style, okay? 5 years is too long for me, okay? Do I need to stay in the one place for 5 years? Such long, okay? Turnover in the US is 3 years, 4 years, okay? Therefore, 5 years is guaranteed. That means like a permanent, okay? So that kind of, you know, the long term is probably thinking by yourself, okay? Therefore, the original concept is totally different. So salary, to the contrary, if you will be hired $300,000, you are lucky and move in, okay? But your responsibility, you may be fired only 1 year. Just a fixing period, 1 year, every 1 year, we need to negotiate the salary, okay, in the company. So if you are working like that, it's obvious. And research companies' attitude. Yeah, I can introduce my partners, Samsung Electromechanics, who developed this, the mobile phone camera module first. Okay. Initially, starting up, I received $300,000 from the vice president of Samsung, and 7 Korean Samsung researchers came in to Penn State. I collected 6 international professors, hired only 3 months. And spending 3 months, we made a prototype. Totally 13 employees for 3 months. I'm a leader, therefore we need to set up all 13 people, not overlapping, but collaborating and so on. And at least the longest 3 months, we need to show the vice president of this prototype. Okay? So initially, speed is totally different for the small business. And also, after finishing, vice president, they initially agreed to start up a laboratory for researching. So initially, I sent 3 postdocs from the Penn State to the Samsung. So these guys are taking a lead and hiring 220 people. Big building was already set, okay? And they started up. Less than 2 years, this was already put into the galaxy, okay? And typically, totally 7 years passed. After that, 3 guys are all left from the company. And some of the technicians remained. But totally nowadays, no research team for the mobile phone in Samsung. So the same situation, Bluetooth communications and ferroelectric memories. Samsung usually spend 5 years longest and stop all the researches and cut everything. Okay? So typically 5 years is long enough. If the manager cannot really make any camera module or ferroelectric memory and so on in 5 years, all are cut. That's the Samsung style. Okay? In that case, 5 years is long enough. Or they cannot spend more than 5 years in the same company. That's a Korean style.
Do you think the culture of the company will continue by doing that?
So Japanese company is too lazy, okay? And employees may consider the more permanent, okay? They are not considering it permanent anymore. But still, yeah, my initial 5 years is too short, therefore they don't want to apply. This is a more symbolic word from the Japanese for the younger generation. As long as the younger generation is considering 5 years is too short, Japanese industries will be crashing, definitely. 5 years, very long. That's the initial consideration from my viewpoint, okay? No more, probably I need to stop.
Thank you very much. Thank you, professors. And we will have a 5-minute break and start around 4:20. Yes, 4:20. And we will have the 2 lectures. My lecture is a little bit short, 15 minutes. And Professor Komatsu talk about natural disasters and biospheres and fisheries. And we are asking what kind of language we should use. I will use English if there is the person who cannot understand Japanese. Okay. You understand Japanese or not? You do. Okay. So we can command so every student can command the 2 languages, Japanese and English. So we can mix as we like. So in one session, English and Japanese. So I can mix, but I prepare for my presentation in English. So I will start in English first. Then I will go to the Japanese part. And it's totally up to the Professor Komatsu, what kind of language do you use? Because Professor Komatsu used to be the tough international negotiator in English. So, okay, so 5 minutes off break.